Hello everyone, Magnus here, and welcome to my first ever video of how to DaVinci Resolve and first impressions. Now, I've been using DaVinci Resolve as a video editor on my channel since I started getting into it quite seriously, and that was back in 2017 or 2018, I can't remember. I started using DaVinci Resolve from version 14. Now DaVinci is up to version 17. So the current version that I'm using is version 16. And I decided I've always wanted to do a how-to video, so I thought I'll do an introductory to DaVinci 17, show you guys where to download it from, and have a bit of a play with it, and show you guys how to use it if you actually want to give it a try. Yes, the software is free. It's not freeware. It doesn't have a 30-day trial. There are some limitations to the software, but not a lot to prevent you from doing simple editing and throwing together a nice and simple YouTube video. So, without further ado, I'm going to swap to my desktop and show you where to download it from. So first of all, you go to, what I would generally go is DaVinci Resolve. Now obviously, you're always going to get ads, Adobe Premiere. DaVinci Resolve is done by Blackmagic Designs, so their website is blackmagicdesigns.com. Go anywhere else and you've gone wrong. So what you do is you click on the little DaVinci Resolve up the top, overview, what's new, you scroll down, there should be a button that says download now, and you've got a few options here. So you've got DaVinci Resolve 17 beta, DaVinci Resolve 16, 17 beta, or Resolve Studio 16. Now I didn't think 17 was a beta, I actually thought 17 was out. So I could be wrong. I'll double check that. Okay, so yeah, it seems if you click on the free download, it does take you to the same page. So yeah, it seems DaVinci Resolve 17 is only a beta at the moment. But if you want Resolve, which is free, you can get DaVinci Resolve 16, and it doesn't cost you anything. I've already paid for the full version, but just for the sake of today's video, I'm going to download DaVinci Resolve 17 beta. So obviously you're met with your details page. I'm going to fill it out here and get back to you guys in just a few minutes. Once you've filled out the details, you should be met with a little pop-up like this, and it'll ask you where you'd like to save your file. Obviously, I'm lazy, so I save my files to my downloads folder on my computer. Nice and easy like that. It is a big download. It's about 2 gigs. So if you have a decent internet connection, it shouldn't take too long. But for those who have slower internet connections, just bear in mind it's not a small download. So with that, once it's finished downloading, I'll see you guys shortly. Alrighty, so now that you've finished your download, depending on which version you went for, yes, there is the studio version. So if you have paid for DaVinci Resolve, and I can't stress this enough, if you have a license key or you've bought a full copy, yes, buy the studio, download the studio version. But if you've never paid for DaVinci Resolve before and you don't have a license key, just download the standard DaVinci Resolve. So there are both versions available. I think I made a small error before. You can download the beta 17 for Studio. Sorry, apologies for that. So I'm going to be installing the Studio version, not the other version. So that's, but there are a lot of features that you can still use in the non-Studio version. And I'll leave some descriptions below, or you guys can leave a comment below and ask what is the difference between the two. Actually, in fact, I could actually install the non-studio version to show you guys the difference. And I can always install the studio version later, so we'll do that. So once you're ready to install Resolve, obviously, if you have a zip program installed, I have 7-zip, you can just go extract here. If you have Windows Explorer, you can just do the same. Most zips are natively supported by Windows nowadays. And then there's the exe. So we're starting off with the non-studio version. I shouldn't need to tell you how to install a program, it's pretty straightforward, but in case you don't, you get your little privacy pop-up. You don't have to install the Fairlight utility if you don't want to. I will change to my desktop one so that you guys can see what I mean. It's a little bit clearer there. You don't have to select that Fairlight utility if you don't want to. So that's just mainly there if you have the Fairlight utilities, Fairlight apps or the Fairlight add-ons. I generally don't bother with that one. So you hit install. Should be pretty straightforward. And after this is done installing, I will see you guys shortly. Alright, now that DaVinci is finished installing, you can hit show readme if you want. And that's a nice new feature. I'm guessing it tells you some new features about it. Otherwise you can just hit finish. It does install some redistributables. I don't know why, but meh, whatever. And you get oh, I guess it wants me to restart. I'm gonna hit no. So you get two. You get a DaVinci Resolve. I'm gonna move this because my camera blocks it. So you get two icons, DaVinci Resolve and Resolve Project Server. I generally don't bother with the project server. I throw that in the rubbish bin. And I hate having icons on my desktop, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to leave it here. So I'm going to move this next to me so you guys can see it right there. Alright, so opening up Resolve. So this is DaVinci Resolve 17 Beta. It is a public beta. Yes, you guys can go ahead and try this out. But here is going to be my first impression of the non-studio version of DaVinci Resolve. And I'm going to show you guys just a little bit of how to use DaVinci Resolve. A lot of you people out there may have be a bit overwhelmed by this video editor. We recommend that you back up your existing database before upgrading. Okay, yes. So, yes, you guys can see I've got some projects here already. These were there before. I've got some Season 8, Magnus Plays, Let's Plays. I can't remember what that was, and this is my vlogs. So, my projects have nicely come over from previous versions. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to create an untitled project. So you met with your timeline, untitled project. So this is what Resolve looks like for me. The layout might be a little bit different from for you guys out there, or you people out there, because it asks you what layout you'd like. It's pretty straightforward. You can click on Add Bin or Import Media. You can import media. So for example, if you have videos, you can import the video, you chuck that in there. So I can't really use that one right now, but let's, for example, go... Alright, so apologies for the hassles there. I found some footage that I don't particularly care about and I've already made a backup of. So once you've found your footage, you can either drag it into the media pool, or you can, right click and add it. DaVinci will come up with a pop-up saying change project frame rate. So the selected clips have a different frame rate. So it will detect if it has a different frame rate than what your video actually is. If you hit don't change, you might have some problems. Otherwise, you can hit change. And then what you can do, you can hit add bin. So for example, if you want to create a bin called, I don't know, vlogs, you can do that. And then you can move it in there. So what you can do is you can even change, so that's cut. You can do everything from in here. You don't need to change from in here. So you drag that to your timeline. Or you can drag it down. So cut, I don't know why cut has this massive. So that's the beginning. I generally prefer to use the edit view, personally myself. I don't know why. I just personally like the edit view better. Some people might not. Whatever really suits you. Some people, if you want to do your cuts from here, you can. You've got some buttons over here, which is Smart Insert, Append, Ripple Overwrite, Close Up, Place on Top, or Source Overwrite. You got your Cut tool or Split. You've got boring detector. I don't know what that does. I've never actually played with it. So those are some new features that are pretty cool. And I might remove my camera so that you guys can see that a little bit more. There we are. So my camera's no longer in the way. Now I can actually show you. So, you know, there's some really nice things over here. You've got some buttons. I don't know what they do. They don't exactly tell you. So as I was showing before, you've got the little trim tools here. You've got more tools over here. I have no idea what they do. Smooth cut, dissolve, cut, lock playhead, free playhead, video only, audio only. So there's some really nice tools in there to do what you need to do. And you can change it. You can change the view of your files. You can do it like that. You can do it like that, detailed, or you can have it as a list. So it gives you some nice customization. Like I said, I personally prefer to use the edit view. You know, you got your timeline here. You can change the name of your timeline. You can call it, say, vlog 2020 or whatever you want to call it. You know, you can add your files in there. So your bins are basically a nice way of ordering everything. But when it comes down to the editing, you know, you can drag this up or down. The more you drag it, the more details you've got. Some people like this kind of view. I personally don't like that view. If you don't like it, you can click on here and go audio options. You can change the track height from here, make it big or small. You can do the same with the audio track. You can make it big or small. And you can change the audio track. So if you prefer to have it like that, which I do, you can change it like that. If you like a compact timeline, stacked timelines, you know, you've got all these different little options here. So you've got your tools here. You've got your cursor, which lets you sort of pan through. You've got, what is this one here? So I'm not sure. Trim mode, dynamic trim mode, blade edit mode. So blade edit mode is pretty straightforward. Lets you make cuts wherever you want. It's like cutting it in. And then what you can do is press A on the keyboard and you can highlight segments like that. Pretty straightforward. But say for instance I wanted to cut out this segment. You press A, you can either hit delete, which moves the video to squishes it down. Or otherwise you can hit backspace, which leaves a gap in your footage. And you can put something else in there or whatever. The controls are pretty straightforward. For those who, you know, want a little bit more messing around, and I'm going to re-enable my camera here. You know, you got your zoom, which, you know, allows you to zoom in on the footage. You got the position, which allows you to, you know, move the footage around. You can mess with the angle. You know, you can do all sorts of things. You can crop it. You can, you know, do some stabilization. For the studio version, you've got the lens correct. Without the studio version, if you do this lens correct, it will put a big splash screen on there. So just keep that in mind. And then you have, you know, the effects library. So you've got video transitions like additive dissolve, blur dissolve, cross dissolve, dipped color. So to give you some examples of those, right, I'm going to cut this here, right, and get rid of that. So, whoops, go backspace on there. So you can go cross dissolve, say add 60 frame cross dissolve. So you got the options here. So you can go cross dissolve, additive dissolve, dip to dissolve, center white, clock white, whatever you want. There's so many different options, and all the options here are free in the non-studio version. So you don't have to pay for any of these at all. The trick here and the trap that a lot of people fall into is that the OpenFX filters, some of these require the full version, and it will tell you, it will actually show you a little message saying this requires the full version. So just please bear in mind that, because I've heard a lot of people complain that it ends up putting this big watermark on top of the video and they can't get rid of it. All you have to do is just undo it or remove it and it'll go away. It's as simple as that. It's nothing too hard. But, you know, editing is pretty simple. There's a lot here that you can play with. So, you know, for example, if I wanted to box blur my video. Have a look, and you can change the effect. So if you click on the video now there, and you scroll to the top, you go click on effects, and you can change horizontal strength. So you can make it weaker, stronger. You can do number of iterations. There's so many different things you could do on these. Now I'm going to move my camera so that you guys can see the list over here because it's kind of obstructed. So yeah, you got box blur, directional blur, Gaussian blur, lens blur. See how DaVinci Resolve comes up like that? And this is exactly what I was saying. You have to be aware of that, because if that pops up, it means that that same thing is going to be on your whole entire video when you render it. That's just the limitation of the free software, so just keep that in mind. Mosaic blur, radial blur, zoom blur. Radio blur looks pretty cool. And look at that. So we get rid of the box blur. Or you can even hit delete. And then to add the new radial one, look at that. And you can make it stronger, or you can make it smoother. Look at that, it's so trippy. So look at that. And if you even want to do something really crazy, you can even set little points. So for example, if you only want it between there and there, so for example at the beginning of the video you don't want it at all, so you go no, nothing, nothing, and you go to the next point, you change that to say 0.5, and you go to the, oh yeah, you have to do it from that one. And go 0. So what will happen, look at this, and it'll go, and you can change it back at the end. So if you go there, let's say you want another one 5 seconds later, you add one there and go 0. So what will happen is this. Yeah, like that. And it's easy. You've got your keyframes. If you want to have a look at your keyframes, I think there is a way to look at them. I forget now. Oh, yeah, there's this little button here. Gives you those keyframes that you did. So you can change that. So, for example, you click on the radial bow. It doesn't let you do that, but yeah. You can add some things in there. You can have a lot of fun with it. You could basically get lost in a lot of these options. But yeah, to close it, you just click on that button. Don't panic. You can always just move this back. Home to take you back home to the beginning of your project. Pretty straightforward. There's not really much to DaVinci Resolve. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I said it was going to be a quick video, but it ended up being about 20 minutes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video regardless. So I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a quick insight into DaVinci Resolve 17. I'm going to now install DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio so that I'm not locked out of half the features I like. Leave some comments below if you've got any questions. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I don't know everything when it comes to Resolve. I basically know the basics, how to do nice scenes and transitions and dip to dissolve. So have a bit of a play around. If you don't like something, just undo it. If you're having an issue with one of these FX that I showed you earlier and it has that big DaVinci Resolve watermark color like you saw there, just remove it. That will fix most of your issues. When it comes to actually delivering your project, I did forget to mention that. I'm going to move my camera out the way so that you guys can see that. So you got different options here. You got YouTube, Vimeo, Twitter, whatever. You got all these different ones. Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro. I generally like to go with my own one. So format, MP4, codec. You can choose your codec. You can choose your format, AVI, Cinnamon, DCP, DPX. There's so many different ones there. I generally choose MP4 for the nicest and simplest ones. You got your codec. Network optimization is good for YouTube videos. If you're uploading to YouTube, that's a good one there. If you're not and it's just for personal use, you can untick that. Resolution, depending on your footage. Mine's set to 1980 by 1080 because that's the resolution of my monitor. That's up to 4K. Yes, you can edit in 4K. I haven't done it recently. For frame rate 60, that's set by your footage. So if your footage is in 60 frames, that's set by your frames. If it's in 30, it's in 30. Quality, you can set your quality here. You can go automatic, or you can restrict it. You can restrict it to how many ever kilobytes you want. I generally go automatic and go best. Again, with your encoding profile, audio, auto, bass, main, high, I generally go high. Keyframes, you can leave that as automatic or every whatever. You can do frame reordering. I don't know what that frame reordering does, so if you got any information on that, I would be happy to hear that. Advanced settings, so pixel aspect ratio, generally leave that to square unless you want to go CinemaScope. Data levels, I usually leave as full. Color spacing, unless you're doing color grading and you're really into color grading, don't touch that. Retain sub-black and sub-white data. I find if that is unticked, the colors look a little bit washed out, so that's a nice one. Data burn-in, I don't know what that is. Use optimized media. If you've optimized your media and you've got, like, say, rendered caches or whatnot, you can tick those options. Enable flat pass, I don't know what that does. I generally don't touch that. And the subtitle settings, so for example, if you've got manual subtitles or you've added subtitles in, and I can cover this, a little bit later in another episode if you guys would like, you can add them as a separate file or have them in here, and you can also add them to your render. So once you're ready, you hit add to render queue. If you haven't set a location, it says, hey, where do you want to save this file? So let's, choose my videos folder just for the sake of it. It's going to save it as Untitled. So, make sure that you name it before you click there. So say, for example, you want to call it, Vlog 2020, just for the sake of it. Yes, you will have to remove this one that you've put over here. And then you hit add to render queue. Once it's added to your render queue, if you've got it highlighted like that, it will only render that one video. If you untick it, all of the videos that you have in here will render in a queue. So if you're doing multiple videos, you can have multiple different timelines in the one project. Just make sure that you select the right timeline, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So for example, if you go new timeline, you can create a new timeline, open that new timeline, and your new timeline will be blank. I don't know why timeline 2 create a new video, but for example, if you wanted to edit another video in timeline 2, a different video in timeline 3, it saves you a lot of hassle from having to create a new project for every new video. I learned this the hard way. Once you do that, if for example you want something from timeline 3, you hit deliver, you hit add to your projects, and then you hit render all, and it will just render. So render all, and it goes ahead and does what it needs to do. If you're going, shit, I made a mistake, you hit stop, cancels the job, and that's pretty much the basics and a quick insight to DaVinci Resolve 17. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it, see what new features they've got. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play with DaVinci Resolve 17. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below if you enjoyed it. Again, as I said, if you got any questions or anything that you want to learn more about Resolve, leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to touch base on some more features that I'm aware of. If I'm not sure how to do something, I'll let you know. Like I said, I'm still a novice at Resolve, and the amount of stuff that I know is probably that. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this long video. I know it's one of my longest vlogs / intro to and how to. But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, till next time, Magnus out.